The stars looked different today, Commander Veltar thought as he watched the screens on his ship's bridge. His Alterian patrol fleet moved through the empty space at the edge of the Kepler sector. They had been out here for 3 months checking for pirates and illegal mining operations. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Commander, his science officer Kexnil called out from his station. I'm picking up something strange. Veltar turned his 4 eyes toward the young officer. What kind of strange? There's a massive energy reading coming from Sector 749. It's moving this way. Show me. The main screen lit up with sensor data. Veltar saw a large blip moving through space. It was big, but space was full of big things. Asteroids, chunks of dead planets, old space hulks left over from ancient wars. Probably just a rogue asteroid, Veltar said. Mark it and move on. Sir, I don't think it's an asteroid. Kexenil's voice was worried. The energy readings are too regular, too organized. This thing has active power systems. Veltar felt his skin change color slightly, the way it always did when he was thinking hard. His people had been exploring space for over 1,000 years. They had seen many things, but something in his officer's voice made him pay attention. How big? He asked. Kexenil checked his readings twice before answering. Sir, the computer says it's 15 kilometers long. That's impossible. Check your sensors. I've checked them 3 times, sir. They're working fine. 15 kilometers. Veltar had served in the Alterian Navy for 30 years. The biggest ship he had ever seen was the Admiral's flagship, and that was only 2 kilometers long. Most warships were much smaller than that. Could it be a fleet moving in tight formation? Veltar asked. No, sir. The energy readings come from a single source. It's one object. Veltar felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In all his years of service, he had never heard of anything that big moving through space under its own power. Far away in the darkness of space, Captain Jin Wu stood on the bridge of the Defiant Horizon. He was looking at the same sensor readings, but from the other side. Captain, Navigation Officer Hanbo reported, alien ships ahead. 3 vessels, small class, holding position. Jin nodded. They had expected this. The Galactic Confederation had many patrol fleets watching their borders. This was humanity's first official meeting with alien governments. Everything had to go perfectly. How far out are we? Jin asked. 2 hours at current speed, sir. Chief Engineer Li Su spoke up from her station. All systems are running smooth, Captain. Fusion cores are at 98% efficiency. Good. Yu Min, any messages from the alien ships? Communications Officer Yu Min shook her head. Nothing yet, sir. But I'm picking up a lot of chatter on their frequencies. They sound confused. Jin could understand why. The Defiant Horizon was humanity's newest Titan-class ship. When humans had first reached for the stars, they had faced a simple problem. Space was huge and travel took a long time. Other species built small, fast ships and established colonies on many worlds. Humans had chosen a different path. They built ships that were worlds themselves. Captain, First Officer Park Hai said quietly. Should we slow down? They might see our size as threatening. Jin thought about this. The Defiant Horizon was home to 53,000 people. It had factories, farms, schools, hospitals, and everything else a human city needed. But from the outside, it probably looked like the biggest warship anyone had ever built. Not yet, he decided. We were invited to these talks. We'll proceed as planned. Back on the Alterian ship, the tension was growing. More sensor data was coming in, and none of it made sense. Commander, Tactical Officer Morden called out, I can't get a weapons lock on that thing. Why not? It's too big. Our targeting computer doesn't know what to do with something that size. It keeps asking me if I want to target a space station or a small moon. Veltar felt his skin change color again. This time it was the deep purple that meant real fear. Get me a direct line to Fleet Command now. Yes, sir. Opening channel. The face of Admiral Rexcar appeared on the screen. The old warrior looked tired, as he always did these days. What is it, Veltar? This better be important. Admiral, we have a situation. There's something big heading toward Confederation space. Bigger than anything in our databases. How big? Veltar hesitated. 15 kilometers, sir. The Admiral's face went through several color changes. Are you certain? Yes, sir. And it's clearly artificial. Active power systems, organized structure. It's definitely a ship. Impossible. No one builds ships that big. Someone did, sir. There was a long silence. Finally, the Admiral spoke again. I'm sending reinforcements. Do not engage. Do not do anything that might be seen as hostile. If someone has built a ship that size, they might have weapons to match. Understood, sir. The channel closed. Veltar looked around his bridge. His crew was scared. He was scared too. In all the history of spaceflight, no one had ever built anything like this. The biggest ships were mobile fortresses or massive cargo haulers, but even those were only 3 or 4 kilometers long. Sir, Kexanil said, I'm getting better readings now. The power output from that thing is incredible. It's like a small star. Weapons? I can't tell. There are so many energy sources, I can't separate them. But Captain, there's something else. What? I'm detecting life signs. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. Veltar stared at the screen showing the approaching object. A ship 15 kilometers long with the power of a star carrying tens of thousands of beings. Who were these people? What did they want? And why were they coming to Confederation space? All ships, he announced on the fleet channel. Battle stations. But hold fire unless I give the order. We're about to meet someone new. The 3 Alterian ships powered their weapons and waited. In the distance, the massive object continued its steady approach. Whatever happened next would change everything they thought they knew about space travel. Captain Jin Woo watched the alien ships on his screen. They were tiny compared to the defiant horizon, but he could see they had powered their weapons. He understood their fear. To them, his ship must look like a flying mountain. All stations, he announced. Prepare for first contact. Remember, we're here to make friends. The 2 fleets moved slowly toward each other through the vast darkness of space. Neither side knew that this meeting would be talked about for thousands of years to come. Commander Veltar waited on his bridge as the massive object grew larger on his screens. His reinforcements had arrived 20 minutes ago. 2 more patrol ships and a heavy cruiser. The cruiser's captain, Mordal, was an old friend from the academy. Veltar? Mordal's voice came through the communication system. Are you sure about these readings? My science officer says there must be an error. No error, Veltar replied. See for yourself. The unknown ship was still too far away to see with normal cameras. But their long-range sensors painted a picture that made no sense. The object was not just big, it was impossible. Commander, Kexanil called out. We're getting close enough for visual contact. Should I put it on the main screen? Veltar nodded. Do it. The screen changed from sensor data to a real image. At first there was nothing but stars and empty space. Then Kexanil adjusted the zoom and enhanced the image. Every Alterian on the bridge stopped breathing. It was not a ship. It was a flying city. The hull stretched out in front of them like a metal continent. Lights dotted its surface like the windows of buildings. Massive structures rose from the main body. Towers and spires that could house millions of beings. The front of the ship was covered in sensor arrays and communication dishes bigger than most space stations. By the 7 moons, Tactical Officer Morden whispered. It's beautiful, and it was. The ship's hull was not the flat gray of military vessels. Instead, it showed signs of life and purpose. Gardens were visible through transparent sections. Moving lights suggested busy traffic inside. This was not just a machine of war. It was a place where people lived. Sir, Communications Officer Telrick said in a shaky voice. I'm receiving a transmission. Put it through. The screen split to show both the massive ship and an alien face. The being looked similar to the ancient pictures in Alterian history books. 2 eyes, smooth skin, short hair. But this was the first time any Alterian had seen a living member of this species. Greetings, the human said. The universal translator made his words understandable. But there was something strange about his tone. He sounded peaceful. I am Captain Jin Woo of the human ship Defiant Horizon. We are here for the diplomatic meeting as arranged. Veltar found his voice. This is Commander Veltar of the Alterian Navy. We were not expecting something so large. Captain Jin smiled. It was a strange expression that the computer identified as showing happiness or friendship. I understand your concern. Our ships are different from yours. We mean no harm. On the human ship, Captain Jin watched the alien fleet on his own screens. The 4 alien ships looked like toys compared to his vessel. He could see why they were scared. Captain, First Officer Park High said quietly, their weapons are still powered. I can see that. Yu-Min, are you getting any other communications from them? Communications Officer Yu-Min nodded. Yes, sir. A lot of encrypted military traffic. I think they're calling for more help. Sir, Science Officer So Ryu reported, I'm detecting at least 12 more ships heading this way, large ones. They'll be here in about an hour. Jin sighed. This was exactly what they had hoped to avoid. The Titan-class ships were built for exploration and colonization, not war, but their size made them look like the most powerful weapons ever created. Should we retreat? Park High asked. No, we're here on a peaceful mission. We'll see this through. Back on the Alterian fleet, panic was spreading. The visual of the human ship had been shared with every vessel. Commander Veltar could hear the fear in his officers' voices as they reported what they saw. Commander, Morden's voice came through from the heavy cruiser. My weapons officer says he could fire our main guns at that thing for a year and barely scratch the paint. Veltar understood. The human ship's hull was so thick that their largest weapons would be like throwing stones at a mountain. If these humans wanted to attack, there was nothing the Alterian fleet could do to stop them. Sir, Kexenil said, I'm getting more detailed scans now. You need to see this. What is it? Those structures on the hull, they're not weapons. They're farms. And those things that look like gun turrets? They're docking bays, big enough to hold our entire fleet. Veltar stared at the readings. As impossible as it seemed, the young officer was right. What they had thought were weapon systems were actually peaceful structures. The human ship was not built for war. It was built for life. Commander, Telrix interrupted. The human captain is asking to speak with you again. Put him through. Captain Jin's face appeared on the screen again. This time he looked more serious. Commander Veltar, I can see that our presence has caused alarm. I want to assure you that we are here peacefully. Our ship may be large, but we are not invaders. Why is your ship so big? Veltar asked. Because it is our home, Jin replied simply. We do not just travel through space, we live in it. This ship carries our families, our culture, our entire civilization. Veltar felt confused. You live on your ships? We live in our ships. The Defiant Horizon is home to over 50,000 humans. We have schools, hospitals, farms, factories. Everything a city needs. When we explore space, we bring our world with us. The idea was so strange that Veltar could barely understand it. His people built colonies on planets. When they traveled, they used small, fast ships. The idea of putting an entire civilization inside a single vessel had never occurred to them. Sir? Mordun's voice came through the communication system. More ships are arriving. Veltar looked at his tactical display. A full battle squadron was approaching. 6 heavy cruisers and 2 battleships. The firepower of the Alterian Second Fleet was enough to destroy entire planets. But looking at the human ship, Veltar wondered if even that would be enough. Commander, Captain Jin said, I see your reinforcements arriving. I want you to know that we do not see them as a threat. We understand your caution. Our weapons, Veltar started, are impressive for their size, Jin finished. But Commander, we did not come here to fight. We came here to talk, to learn, to share what we know with your people. On the human ship, Weapons Officer Bin Tai was watching the approaching alien fleet. Captain, should I power up our defensive systems? Jin thought for a moment. The Defiant Horizon's shields could probably protect them from anything the aliens could throw at them. But powering up would be seen as a hostile act. No, he decided. Keep everything on standby. We're here to make friends, not enemies. Sir, Medical Officer Jin Hai said from her station. Perhaps we should invite them aboard? Let them see what our ship really is. Jin smiled. That's exactly what I was thinking. He turned back to the communication screen. Commander Veltar, I have a proposal. Would you be willing to visit our ship? I think seeing it from the inside might help you understand what we are. Veltar's skin changed colors rapidly as he thought. Board the alien ship? It could be a trap. But something about the human captain seemed honest. That would be acceptable, he said finally. Excellent. We'll prepare a docking bay for your shuttle. And Commander? Bring your science officer. I think he'll find our ship very interesting. As the communication ended, Veltar looked around his bridge. His crew was still scared, but there was something else in their eyes now. Curiosity. They were about to board the largest ship ever built. Whatever they found inside would change everything they thought they knew about space travel. The massive human vessel continued its slow approach, peaceful and patient as a moving mountain. Soon the galaxy would learn what humanity had accomplished among the stars. Admiral Rexkar's face filled the screen in Commander Veltar's ready room. The old warrior's skin was dark red, the color of extreme anger and fear. Are you insane? The admiral shouted. You want to board an alien ship the size of a moon? Sir, I believe they are peaceful, Veltar replied. Their captain seems honest, and our scans show that most of their ship is not military. I don't care if they have gardens and schools. No one builds something that big without planning to use it as a weapon. This could be the beginning of an invasion. Veltar had never seen his commanding officer so upset. Admiral, what are your orders? My orders are to retreat immediately and call for the entire Third Fleet. We need every battleship we can get. Sir, if we retreat now, it could be seen as an act of war. The humans might think we are preparing to attack them. Admiral Rexkar's color changed to an even darker red. Let them think that. Better they fear us than destroy us. The communication ended, leaving Veltar alone with his thoughts. He looked out the small window of his ready room at the massive human ship. It was close enough now that he could see tiny figures moving along its hull. Maintenance workers or engineers doing their daily jobs. It did not look like a ship preparing for war. On the bridge of the Defiant Horizon, Captain Jin was having his own difficult conversation. Chief Diplomat Nawan was not happy. Captain, this is a disaster, Nawan said. Half the alien fleet is running away, and the other half is powering weapons. This is not how first contact is supposed to go. I know, Jin replied, but we can't help how we look. The ship is what it is. Communications Officer Yu Min looked up from her station. Captain, I'm intercepting more alien transmissions. They're calling us an invasion force. Some of them think we're here to conquer their worlds. Jin felt tired. Humanity had spent years preparing for this moment. They had practiced every possible scenario, but they had never thought about how their ships would look to people who built small vessels. Sir, Science Officer So Ryu reported, more alien ships are arriving. Big ones this time. I count 8 heavy warships and... Captain, they have weapons that could hurt us. For the first time since the encounter began, Jin felt worried. The Defiant Horizon was powerful, but it was not invincible. If the aliens decided to attack, people would die. Options? He asked his senior staff. We could retreat, First Officer Park Hai suggested. Come back later with a smaller ship. We could power up our shields, Weapons Officer Bin Tae added. Show them we can defend ourselves. Both options are bad, Nawan said. If we run, they'll think we're planning something secret. If we power weapons, they'll think we're about to attack. Jin nodded. The diplomat was right. They were trapped by their own success. The Titan-class ships were humanity's greatest achievement, but they were also their biggest problem. Sir, Medical Officer Jin Hai spoke up. What if we show them what we really are? Not just tell them, but show them? What do you mean? Invite them aboard. Let them see the schools, the farms, the families. Once they understand what our ship really is, they won't be afraid. Jin liked the idea, but he could see the problems. The aliens are scared. Their leaders probably won't let them board. Then we make it worth their while, no one said. We offer them something they can't refuse. Back on the Alterian flagship, Veltar was watching the tactical display with growing worry. More ships were arriving every hour. The Alterian Second Fleet, the Hegemony Navy, even some independent systems had sent warships. The space around the human vessel was becoming crowded with armed ships. Commander, his communications officer reported, Admiral Rexkar is requesting an immediate conference with all fleet commanders. The main screen lit up with the faces of 8 different alien officers. Veltar recognized most of them. Experienced commanders from across the Confederation. All of them looked scared. Gentlemen, Admiral Rexkar began. We face a threat unlike anything in galactic history. The humans have sent a ship so large it could carry an entire invasion army. We must assume hostile intent. Captain Thulmar of the Hegemony Navy spoke up. Admiral, our intelligence suggests the humans are a peaceful species. Perhaps this is just their way of showing respect? Respect? Admiral Rexkar's skin turned purple with anger. They show respect by bringing the largest warship ever built to a diplomatic meeting? Actually, sir, Commander Veltar said carefully, I don't think it is a warship. Every face on the screen turned to look at him. Explain, the Admiral ordered. Our detailed scans show that most of the ship is civilian. Living areas, schools, farms, factories. It's more like a mobile city than a military vessel. That makes it even more dangerous, Captain Mortal added. If they can build cities in space, imagine what their actual military ships look like. The other commanders murmured agreement. Veltar realized he was fighting a losing battle. Fear was spreading faster than facts. "Sir," he tried again. "The human captain has invited me aboard. Perhaps if I could see their ship from the inside." "Absolutely not!" Admiral Rexcar snapped. "I will not risk losing an experienced commander to alien tricks. But sir, that's an order, Commander. All ships will maintain maximum distance and prepare for combat. If that thing makes any aggressive move, we fire everything we have." The communication ended. Veltar sat back in his chair, feeling helpless. Outside his ship, he could see the massive human vessel hanging in space like a metal moon. It had not moved aggressively. It had not powered weapons. It had not done anything except exist. But sometimes existing was enough to start a war. On the defiant horizon, Captain Jin watched the alien fleet with growing concern. More ships were arriving every hour, and they were all armed for battle. "Captain," Yumin reported, "I'm intercepting military communications. They're discussing attack plans. Are they planning to fire?" "Not yet. But they're preparing for it. Some of their commanders think we're here to invade." Jin looked at his bridge crew. These people had spent their entire lives working toward this moment. Humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. Now it was all falling apart because their ship was too big. "Sir," Chief Engineer Li Su called from her station, "our automated defense systems are detecting weapons locks. Should I power the shields?" Jin hesitated. Powering the shields would protect his ship and his people, but it would also be seen as an act of war. The aliens were already scared. Showing them humanity's defensive capabilities might push them over the edge. "Not yet," he decided. "But be ready." "Captain," Na One said urgently, "we need to do something. If shooting starts, both sides will lose. Your ship might survive, but thousands of aliens will die. That's not the kind of first contact humanity wants to be remembered for." Jin knew she was right. But what could they do? They couldn't make their ship smaller. They couldn't change what they were. "Sir?" So Ryu said suddenly, "What if we send over some of our people? Not for a meeting, but just to talk. Show them we're normal people, not monsters." "The aliens won't accept visitors from us," Park High pointed out. "They're too scared." "Then we don't ask permission," Jin said slowly. "We just go." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stared at their captain. "Sir?" Bintay asked. "A small shuttle. A few people. We dock with their flagship and introduce ourselves properly. Show them we're just people trying to make friends." "That's incredibly dangerous," Na One warned. "If they see it as an attack, then we make sure they don't," Jin replied. "We go unarmed. We bring gifts. We act like the peaceful explorers we are. And if they refuse to let us dock," Jin smiled grimly, "then at least we tried." Outside the massive ship, the alien fleet continued to grow. Warships from a dozen different species hung in space like predators circling prey. Weapons were charged. Shields were ready. One wrong move, one misunderstood signal, and the space around the defiant horizon would become a battleground. But inside the human ship, 50,000 people went about their daily lives. Children attended school. Farmers tended crops. Engineers maintained systems. They trusted their captain to keep them safe. Jin hoped he could live up to that trust. Commander Veltar sat in his small shuttle, trying to calm his nerves. Against direct orders from Admiral Rexcar, he was about to board the human ship. Science Officer Kexnel sat beside him, equally nervous but excited. "Sir?" his pilot asked. "Are you sure about this?" Veltar looked back at his own ship, growing smaller behind them. He thought about the fleet of warships surrounding the human vessel, all ready to fire. Someone had to break the cycle of fear and misunderstanding. "Yes," he said, "someone needs to learn the truth." The human ship grew larger as they approached. From this close, Veltar could see that the hull was not smooth like a warship. There were windows everywhere, thousands of them. Behind the transparent sections, he could see green spaces and moving figures. "Commander," his pilot said in a shocked voice, "look at the docking bay they're directing us to." Veltar looked ahead and felt his skin change color. The docking bay was huge, big enough to hold his entire ship, not just his shuttle. As they flew inside, he saw dozens of other small craft parked along the walls. But these were not fighters or military vehicles. They looked like cargo haulers, passenger transports, even what appeared to be family vehicles. "This is not a military ship," Kexenil whispered. They landed on a platform that could have held 20 shuttles. As the engine shut down, Veltar saw humans approaching. They wore simple uniforms, not battle armor. One of them, a woman with short black hair, stepped forward and gestured for them to come out. "Welcome aboard the Defiant Horizon," she said as they emerged from their shuttle. The universal translator made her words clear. "I am Chief Engineer Li Su. Captain Jin sends his apologies. He is dealing with the fleet situation. But he asked me to show you around." Veltar studied the human woman. She was small compared to him, but she moved with confidence. Around them, the docking bay was busy with normal activity. Workers were loading cargo, maintenance crews were checking vehicles, and children, actual children, were playing in a safe area while their parents worked. "Children?" Kexnil asked in amazement. Li Su smiled. "Yes, we have about 8,000 young people aboard. They were born here in space. This is their home." She led them out of the docking bay and into a wide corridor. Veltar had expected dark metal passages like those on military ships. Instead, the walls were painted in warm colors, and plants grew in containers along the sides. The air smelled fresh and clean. "How many people live here?" Veltar asked. 53,042 as of this morning," Li Su replied. "We had 3 births yesterday and 1 person transferred to another ship." "Another ship? You have more like this?" "Oh yes. The Defiant Horizon is just one of 12 Titan-class vessels. Each one carries its own community." They walked through what Li Su called the residential district. Veltar saw families in their homes visible through open doors and windows. People were cooking meals, watching entertainment programs, talking with friends. It looked like any city street except it was inside a spaceship. "This corridor alone is 2 kilometers long," Li Su explained. "We have shopping areas, restaurants, entertainment centers, even parks." "Parks?" Kexnil could barely speak. "On a ship? Would you like to see one?" They took what Li Su called a transit pod, a small vehicle that moved through tubes inside the ship. As they traveled, Veltar saw more impossible things. Factories where workers built tools and equipment, schools where children learned about science and history, hospitals where doctors treated patients. "Here we are," Li Su said as they stepped out of the pod. Veltar's mind could not process what he saw. They were standing in a vast open space filled with trees, grass, and flowers. Sunlight streamed down from above, though he knew they were deep inside the ship. Families were having picnics. Children were playing games. Old people sat on benches feeding birds. "The trees are over 60 years old," Li Su said proudly. "My grandmother planted them when this ship was first built." "But how?" Kexnil managed to ask. "Artificial gravity, controlled atmosphere, and a lot of hard work. We've learned to create Earth-like environments anywhere we go." They sat on a bench while children ran past, laughing and playing. Veltar watched an old human man teaching a group of young ones about the different types of trees. It was so normal, so peaceful that he almost forgot he was on what his people thought was a warship. "Chief Engineer," he said carefully, "why do you live like this? Why not build colonies on planets like other species?" Li Su was quiet for a moment. "Our planets were dying," she said finally. "Pollution, wars, climate change, and we damaged our worlds badly. When we finally developed space travel, we had a choice. We could find new planets to damage, or we could learn to live without damaging anything. So you built ships. We built homes, mobile cities that could go anywhere, see anything, without leaving scars behind. When we visit a world, we take only what we need and leave nothing but good memories." They continued the tour. Li Su showed them the agricultural sections where food was grown in vast hydroponic gardens. The manufacturing areas where everything from tools to artwork was created. The research laboratories where scientists studied the universe around them. "What about weapons?" Veltar finally asked. "Surely you have military sections." "We do," Li Su admitted. "But they're small compared to everything else. Would you like to see them?" The military sections were impressive, but not threatening. The weapons were clearly defensive, designed to protect the ship, not attack others. The soldiers they met were professional but friendly. Many of them had families aboard the ship. "We train to defend our home," the security chief explained, "but we prefer to make friends rather than enemies." As they walked through the command center, Veltar saw something that made him stop. On the walls were pictures of dozens of worlds, beautiful planets with blue skies and green landscapes. "What are these?" he asked. "Places we visited," Li Su said. "We always take pictures to remember. Someday, when we've learned enough about living in harmony with nature, we might settle on planets again." But for now, space is our home. Kexnil was studying a display showing the ship's structure. Chief Engineer, this vessel could carry 1 million people if it was designed differently. You're right. But we chose quality of life over numbers. Everyone aboard has meaningful work, comfortable living space, and access to education and healthcare. We believe that's more important than raw population. They ended the tour in an observation deck near the front of the ship. Through the massive windows, they could see the alien fleet surrounding them. The warships looked small and threatening compared to the peaceful community they had just visited. Your people think we're here to conquer them, Li Su said sadly. But we're just explorers. We want to learn about the galaxy and make friends with whoever we meet. Beltar looked at the fleet, then back at the human woman. Everything he had been taught about space warfare was wrong. The humans had not built a weapon. They had built a miracle. Chief Engineer, he said. May I speak with Captain Jin? Of course. But first, would you like to meet some of our families? I think you'd enjoy talking with our children. They love meeting new people. As they walked back through the ship, Veltar's mind raced. He had to convince Admiral Rexakar that the humans were not a threat. But how could he explain what he had seen? How could he make his people understand that the largest ship in the galaxy was actually the most peaceful? Behind them, through the windows of the ship, the alien fleet waited with weapons ready. They were prepared for war with an enemy that did not exist. The humans had brought their families to the stars, not their armies. The revelation was stunning in its simplicity. While other species built ships to travel between worlds, humans had built worlds to travel between stars. Beltar realized he was witnessing the future of space travel. Not bigger weapons or faster ships, but mobile civilizations that could go anywhere and live anywhere without destroying anything. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for such a radical new idea. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from 43 different species filled the Great Hall, all talking at once. The holographic display in the center showed the same image over and over, the massive human ship surrounded by the combined fleets of half the galaxy. Council Speaker. Velnara called for order with her ceremonial staff. Please, honored delegates, we must approach this calmly. Calmly? Shouted Ambassador Theklan from the Hegemony Worlds. They brought a ship the size of a small moon to a diplomatic meeting. How are we supposed to be calm? Because, came a new voice from the back of the hall. It's not what we think it is. Everyone turned to see Commander Veltar walking down the central aisle. He had arrived from the human ship only 2 hours ago, and he looked tired but determined. Commander, Speaker Velnara said, you were ordered not to board that vessel. Yes, Speaker, I was, and I'm glad I disobeyed that order. What I found changes everything we thought we knew about space travel. Admiral Rexakar stood up from his seat. Commander Veltar, you will return to your ship immediately and— Admiral, Veltar interrupted, with respect, you need to hear this. We all do. He walked to the center of the hall and activated his personal datapad. The holographic display changed to show images from inside the human ship. The parks, the schools, the families. This is what I found aboard the human vessel, Veltar said. Not weapons. Not armies, families, children, farmers, teachers, artists. The humans didn't bring a warship to our meeting. They brought their home. The hall erupted in confused voices. Ambassador Korval from the Alterian Trade Union stood up. That's impossible. No one builds cities in space, the humans did, Veltar replied, and not just one. They have 12 ships like this, each carrying 50,000 people. They call them Titan-class vessels, and they represent a completely different approach to space colonization. Trade Magistrate Kelvin leaned forward with interest. Different how? Instead of finding planets to colonize, they built colonies that can travel to planets. They carry their entire civilization with them wherever they go. Speaker Velnara studied the images. Commander, are you saying this ship is purely civilian? No, Speaker. They have military sections and defensive weapons, but they make up less than 5% of the ship's total volume. The rest is dedicated to life, to giving their people good homes among the stars. Admiral Rexkar's skin was turning purple with anger. Even if that's true, a ship that size could be converted to military use. It's still a threat. Admiral, a new voice said from the chamber entrance. With respect, you're wrong. Everyone turned to see Captain Jinwoo walking into the hall. He was accompanied by Chief Diplomat Na1 and 2 security officers. But instead of weapons, they carried gifts, beautiful artwork, and samples of food from their ship. "Captain Jin," Speaker Velnara said, "welcome to our council. Though I should point out that your arrival was not scheduled." Jin bowed politely. "I apologize for the intrusion, Speaker, but I felt it was important to address your concerns directly." "Our concerns," Admiral Rexcar said angrily, "are about the massive warship you brought to our space." "Admiral, I understand your worry, but the Defiant Horizon is not a warship. It's our home. Let me explain why we build ships like this." Jin activated a small projector that showed images of human history: polluted cities, destroyed landscapes, wars that left entire continents uninhabitable. My people learned a hard lesson about planetary colonization. When we settled worlds, we eventually damaged them. We used up resources, polluted environments, fought wars over territory. We realized we needed a different way. The images changed to show the construction of the first Titan-class ship. So we built mobile homes, ships that could carry our entire civilization, but leave no permanent mark on any world we visit. We take only what is freely given and give back knowledge and friendship. Ambassador Theclon stood up. "That's a beautiful story, Captain. But how do we know you won't use these ships as weapons?" "Because they can't be weapons," Jin replied simply. "To use a Titan-class ship for war, we would have to remove 50,000 civilians, tear out the schools and farms and homes, and rebuild the entire interior for military use. It would be easier and cheaper to build dedicated warships." "Then why not build smaller ships?" Trade Magistrate Kelvin asked. "Because space is vast and empty." Na one spoke for the first time. "Small ships require supply lines, support bases, regular contact with homeworlds. Our ships are completely self-sufficient. We can explore for decades without needing anything from outside." Commander Veltar stepped forward. "Honored delegates, I have seen their ship from the inside. I have met their children, eaten their food, walked in their gardens. These people are not conquerors. They are the most advanced civilization any of us have ever encountered, and they came here in peace." "Advanced?" Admiral Rexcar scoffed. "They may have big ships, but—" "Admiral," Veltar interrupted, "they have solved every major problem of space colonization. They create Earth-like environments anywhere they go. They grow all their own food. They manufacture everything they need. They have no pollution, no resource shortages, no overcrowding. They've built paradise among the stars." The hall fell silent as the implications sank in. Speaker Velnara was the first to speak. "Captain Jin, how many of your people live this way?" "About 600,000 across all 12 ships," Jin replied. "We have room for more, but we prefer to maintain a good quality of life for everyone." "Only 600,000? Ambassador Corval seemed shocked. "Your ships could hold millions." "Yes, but why would we want that? Everyone aboard our ships has meaningful work, comfortable homes, excellent education, and health care. We believe quality of life is more important than quantity of life." Trade Magistrate Kelvin had been doing calculations on his datapad. "Captain, with 12 ships that size, you could carry the entire population of most worlds. You could evacuate planets facing disasters, relocate entire civilizations." "That's exactly what we hope to do," Na one said. "We want to share our technology, help other species build their own mobile worlds. Imagine if every civilization could travel the stars without leaving their homes behind." Admiral Rexcar looked uncomfortable. "And what do you want in return?" "Friendship," Jin said simply. "Knowledge, stories, art, music. We want to learn about the galaxy and help make it a better place." Speaker Velnara stood up. "Captain Jin, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I formally welcome humanity to our community. Your approach to space travel is revolutionary." "Thank you, Speaker. We look forward to working with all of your peoples." The emergency session turned into a celebration. Representatives crowded around Captain Jin and his crew, asking hundreds of questions about human technology and culture. Plans were made for exchanges, for joint projects, for sharing knowledge. But the real change was happening outside the council chambers. News of the human ships was spreading across the galaxy at light speed. On thousands of worlds, people looked up at the stars and imagined a different kind of future. On the mining world of Kepler-7, workers dreamed of ships that could carry them to new systems without leaving their families behind. On the overcrowded city planet of New Alteria, planners calculated how many people could live comfortably on human-style ships. On the research station at Proxima Base, scientists began designing their own mobile civilizations. The humans had not just joined the galactic community, they had shown everyone a new way to live among the stars. Aboard the Defiant Horizon, Captain Jin stood on the observation deck watching the alien fleet. But the warships were no longer threatening. They had become an honor guard, escorting humanity's mobile city toward Confederation space. "Captain," First Officer Park High said as she joined him at the window, "the Alterian commander wants to know if his daughter can visit our schools." "She's interested in studying human agriculture," Jin smiled. "Of course. Tell him she's welcome anytime. Sir, we're also getting requests from 12 different species who want to visit. Trade delegations, scientific exchanges, cultural missions. Accept them all. We came here to make friends." As the Defiant Horizon continued its journey, smaller ships from the alien fleet began docking with it, not as invaders or conquerors, but as guests and students. The humans had brought more than advanced technology to the galaxy. They had brought a new vision of what was possible. Commander Veltar, now permanently assigned as a liaison officer, walked through the ship's corridors with his science officer Kexanil. They were heading to dinner with a human family that had invited them to share a traditional Earth meal. "Commander," Kexanil said, "do you think other species will build ships like this?" Veltar looked out a window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the other 11 human ships were continuing their own journeys of exploration and discovery. And somewhere else, alien engineers were probably already drawing plans for their own mobile worlds. "Yes," he said, "I think they will. The humans have shown us that we don't have to choose between exploration and home. We can take our homes with us to the stars." Behind them, the galaxy's largest mobile city continued its peaceful journey through space, carrying 50,000 humans and a new dream of what life among the stars could be.